Let me just talk to you quickly about Cartel Land, which is a documentary, which I think is a very, very interesting and disturbing film. It started off, it's directed by Matthew Heineman, started off as an investigation of vigilantes in the US patrolling the US border and being obsessed by by what they believe is the tide of people and drugs that are coming across and somehow overrunning their country. But actually, whilst he was doing that, he discovered about the autodefensas groups in Mexico who were fighting against the drug cartels. They were sort of citizens coalition, vigilante coalition, and he became more interested in that side of the story. And through the eye of his camera, we meet Dr. Jose Morales, who initially is seen getting groundswell support for communities to take back their lives, their areas, their towns from the cartels who are so horrendous, so vicious, so violent. And what the film does is it documents, on the one hand, it sets it up as this kind of parallel between vigilantes in America and these community vigilante groups in Mexico. And then what initially seems like a kind of a juxtaposition between the warring forces then descends into something altogether more disturbing as the dreams and visions of the vigilantes start to fall apart. And it becomes more and more apparent that in this world there is no black and white, that in fact it is possible to become the thing that you are fighting against. There is a quote in it in which he says, "We can't become the criminals that we're fighting against." And yet during the course of the very harrowing documentary, you do see exactly that start to happen. What makes the documentary work, I mean, Matthew Heineman's been accused, similarly as was Joshua Oppenheimer when he made Act of Killing, of perhaps making a documentary that lacks geopolitical context. I don't agree with that. In fact, it's made very clear right from the beginning that the drugs that are being made for sale basically in the US, that the US is therefore funding the market, and the atrocities which attend their production are dependent on that market. But what Matthew Heineman's managed to do is to get up close and personal with the people fighting against the cartel, with the autodefensas, with their battles against the cartel, and then to be able to witness firsthand the internal struggles, the unraveling, this extraordinary labyrinthine web which actually seems to catch everybody in this ongoing cycle of oppression and violence. It's a very harrowing piece of work. It's executive produced. One of its executive producers is Catherine Bigelow. It comes with a very attention-grabbing score and is filmed in a sort of cinematic widescreen that makes it very much a cinematic feature. I thought it was a very arresting piece of work which both commands and demands your attention. It's called Cartel Land.
And I wonder if Catherine Bigelow's name being on the poster very prominently will actually draw people's eyes and go, oh, okay.
I would think so. And actually, I mean, as you know, I'm a big fan of Catherine Bigelow, and I wasn't a big fan of the criticisms that were levelled at Zero Dark 30, which I always thought was a more subversive film than its critics gave it credit for. I think the primary thing with Catherine Bigelow's name being there is that it tells you that this is cinematic, and it is. I mean, you know, this is so often the case with documentary, but this is an overtly dramatic documentary that is constructed in such a way as to maximize that kind of that cinematic. It is a horrifying story, and there are stories in it that are absolutely chilling, and but I think it tells the story well, and it investigates its central kind of labyrinthine web in a way which is very, very personal, in a way which makes the story accessible to a wide audience.